I will post this one for the curious, who I certainly was, and working towards an electrical engineering degree. I had the freedom to think, to analyze, and reach a conclusion. And that was that God, evolution, designed a sophisticated control system. I'll call it a meta eye to differentiate from the camera eye, which is the only thing you understand. And this meta eye has refractive states, not defects. And thinking along that way, I thought that you change the average of accommodation and the refractive state measured by me would change based on the equation for the meta eye. And so you compare the equation predictions with experimental reality, and the correlation is about 0.97, best available data. So I'm in college thinking this idea, no proof, just curiosity. And I certainly realized that I was isolated. I was not talking with optometrists. I was not talking to one medical. They all believe that the eyes are stretched out of shape, failure of design. So I wrote this up as a senior project. And at the time to do it, it wasn't a matter of being right or wrong. It was more an idea of the concept that God designed a sophisticated control system. And the misunderstanding of the public was absolute and total. That's the reason why I don't use the word nearsightedness. I say negative refractive state for the normal eye when you're 20/40. If you can't think that way, you're not thinking control system eye. And you can ridicule this, think it's crazy, whatever you want to think, it doesn't matter to me. So I was just curious. And that's where the submariners issue developed. Since I thought that as a control system, the eye would change its refractive state from positive 20/20 to negative 20/50, simply because we do this, submariners. And the only way I could see prevention would be possible would be if the submariner used a plus lens in a submarine and thereby keep his refractive state measured as positive. Certainly an idealistic dream concept. I will always say it that way as a preventable situation. I want to exonerate all optometrists, all medical people, because they're dealing with the ignorant public, which thinks all eyes are bad cameras. Draw a circle, raise a light, and see that proves that the eye's a camera. This is basically what Kepler did 400 years ago, and nothing's changed since then, because it's so easy just to put a minus lens on a kid and tell them it's your bad heredity. There's not much honesty in optometry because you got to cover yourself. People believe that prevention at 20/40 is totally impossible because the eye's a bad camera. So that's part one. That led me to step two. The guy in New York who published this mentioned Raphaelson and the plus. I had absolutely no idea who he was, what he was thinking, nothing. But I had the time to drive over to Cincinnati and talk to him. And it changed everything. It didn't change nearsightedness for me. It didn't change nearsighted people. But there's tremendous pressure if you're in a profession to maintain the beliefs of that profession because you can't change the public. The public expect incredible sharpness instantly and never beyond that point. You can't expect an optometrist to help you. Never. Same thing is true with Raphaelson. So what produces a negative refractive state for the completely normal eye? And this is Raphaelson, who went against his profession. If you're in a profession, it's impossible to go against the tenets, the dictatorial nature of optometry. You've got to believe this, and you never can say anything against it. This is why you won't find any optometrist saying that doing this is a problem and a minus is a problem. I don't blame them. I mean, the ignorance of the public is so massive that nobody can do anything anyway. That's why I always say self-measured refractive state, because I must do it myself if I have the opportunity to do it. So what creates this negative refractive state? Because I did it myself. 100%. It's my fault. So this is where you have kids. And Raphaelson did a study of this. He spent about 30 years doing it. What he found was the kids would start that way. But after about 6 minutes, they were doing this. That's a combination of minus 10 diopters. That's a combination of about minus 6 diopters, minus 4 diopters. It's a distance. Why kids do that? It's a terrible habit. And same with Chinese. There's nothing heredity about this. It seems to be a habit with kids in our modern society that they do this. But you won't find any optometrists will talk about it. Dead silent. Crickets. Even their own kids. They won't stop their kids from doing that. So their own kids then become nearsighted at age 8 and get a minus lens and believe that prevention is totally impossible. They're almost right, but until you can stop a kid from doing that, you're going to have what I would call 1 diopter per year down kids. And this is what Raphaelson says. You can't blame Rupa for doing it. She has to do the standard thing, which is a minus lens when you're 20/60. She can't do anything about it. It's impossible because no parent understands this issue. And I gave up. I just gave up. I talked to immediate relatives, and they fortunately didn't do that. So they kept their refractive state positive 20/20. I'm sure they're puzzled by some of the things I say, which I expect. I made an effort, and they have 20/20. That doesn't prove anything. So that became then the primate data and verification. And it's there, providing you understand that God designed the eye as a control system. And what you actually measured is a refractive state. That's why I always use that terminology. I don't blame the optometrist. I blame my uncontrolled habits. And believe me, until the parents are willing to do something about that, the situation will go on forever. So that went on till I was about 68 years old. And yeah, I got a cataract. And the cataract is a reset, optical reset. And by my request, it reset me for 20/60 or -1 diopter, meaning that with my test lenses, I 20/60 hold up a -1 spherical and I could read the 20/20 line. And I felt I could get my refractive state to change from minus to plus by doing this most obvious of what Raphaelson recommended, except I know what I'm doing. This is not to read at 20 inches, plus 2, I still have this old habit of reading at 10 inches, minus 4 diopters, where effectively plus 4 diopters reading. I have one of the glasses that flip down. I just put 2 pluses lenses on top of the other. And I'm still doing reading at 10 inches on my cell phone, but I have a plus 4. So that's what I've been doing now for the past 15 years, because I still love to read, and that habit. However, now I mitigate that effect. So my refractive state is better than 20/20, meaning this way. I could read the 20/20 line and hold a plus a half diopter and still read the 20/20 line. That's a buffer, protective buffer. And I can judge how close I am to becoming nearsighted. As long as I read that buffer, it's not going to happen. I'm going to keep my 20/20. It's true. There could be medical conditions which I cannot avoid. But all refractive measurements are made by me. If you don't mess with the eye by using minus lenses on it, you could probably, both eyes will stay to a half diopter, one to the other. So, and that's in science. And so I can easily use same plus spherical lenses on my eyes without needing glasses. And that was the advantage of cataract surgery. Good cataract surgery, the eyes will be within a half diopter of each other, which meant it was very easy to just use a plus 2. The thing I discovered after things settled out from cataract surgery and I was starting to get 20/40 vision was I can now determine my refractive range or accommodation range. Even the eye with a fixed lens has an accommodation range measured by me, meaning that I can read the 20/20 line and at 20 inches in the lands of the myopes, Chinese children, preventive remedy for school myopia. What's school myopia? It's a negative refractive state of the completely normal eye. But you got to start prevention before you get down to 20/60. That's your last chance. Because the rate at which you go down for kids doing this is 1 diopter per year. You've got to stop it at 20/50 or you don't stop it. And with the meta theory of the eye, all eyes control to the lens, accommodation and the lens. So using a minus lens on the meta eye guarantees it goes down at a faster rate. You have to be an engineer to understand this. I just don't bother with anyone else. Which explains why after age 68, I just wore a plus lens for 15 years, thus keeping my refractive state measured as positive. There's no cure in what I did. It's objective science and facts, providing you understand the meta eye concept for all eyes. You'll never see this written and published in any medical journal. They are completely oblivious to the whole concept. And they don't even have their own children. They could, but no, the minus is so easy. So that is my experience. I'm extremely happy to be able to help myself. I guess probably it folds. I tried to help other people. In the final analysis, I wound up with a situation where I could help myself by making all measurements as an engineer and doing what I feel absolutely had to be done with the concept of the meta eye. And you can add your own commentary if you would. Rupa Wong has the only right answer. You keep on beating on your kids to keep their eyes at 20 inches. They'll fight, but they will be successful. And her kids are teenagers. They'll eventually hit college and better, and probably will keep their 20/20, which is the only right answer. So again, speak freely. I'm an engineer. I understand control systems. I understand my bad habits as a child, deeply regretted. No one in medicine can do one blessed thing about it now or ever. Thank you.